I decided to come to Fuvahmulah in the Maldives to dive with tiger sharks. Fuvahmulah is a unique little island right in the south of the Maldives. It's a local island, so it's inhabited by around 9,000 local people. There aren't really resorts or anything like that. There are a few hotels, a few guest houses and hostels and things like that. Tourism only actually started here in about 2014, and really the only people who come to Fuvahmulah are people who want to dive or free dive with tiger sharks. That's the entire attraction. It's about 1 hour 30 flight from Male. And it is famous for its permanent resident population of tiger sharks. It has around 300 permanently resident tiger sharks that have been catalogued by the scientists who are working here. There's a lot of scientific work that goes on with the sharks as well. But there's about 100 to 200 more that sort of come and go. So it could be up to around 500 at any one time living in the waters around this very, very tiny little island. The island itself is quite unique, and this is why you get the sharks. So unlike a lot of the Maldives that you will have seen, well, firstly, there's no resorts. But secondly, just from the topography type of situation, Fuvahmulah is unique in the sense that it doesn't have any sort of shallow lagoon. There's not that kind of atoll look about it at all. It's literally a little island off by itself. And the unique thing about it, and why it gets so many sharks, is that it actually has a very, very, very short amount of reef in the water. So you have the island, very, very short amount of reef, and then an incredibly steep drop-off that goes down to about 2,000 plus meters. And so because of that, and I'll show you some clips of what I mean by how steep that drop-off is, because of that, it actually means that the tiger sharks and other large pelagic species like hammerheads, threshers, oceanic whitetips, silvertips, etc., come really, really close to shore, which is fantastic for divers and things like that. Not fantastic if you wanted to go there for surfing or swimming. It's probably not the island for you. But it's a really cool little place. And as I said, like really, the whole sort of tourism economy in Fuvahmulah was because of the sharks. And so there's shark paraphernalia everywhere. They're really, really proud of their sharks. And so they should be, because they're fantastic. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the tiger sharks, and then also a little bit about how to dive with them safely. I will preface that I'm not a guide. I'm not a shark expert in any capacity, but I've done a lot of diving with sharks. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there putting out content around diving with sharks that's not really correct or really responsible from a sort of ethical perspective. So we'll get into all of that, and I'll show you some of the beautiful girls that I dived with. So I came here to dive with the tiger sharks. They are the 4th largest species of shark, and the reason that they're called tiger sharks is they have a very distinctive set of tiger stripes, I suppose, along their back, which when the light catches is absolutely fantastic to look at. They're actually put into a category of what people call like the big 3, which are the 3 species of shark most responsible for attacks and fatalities on humans. And that's the great white, tiger sharks and bull sharks. They have a reputation for being aggressive, but I think if you're a diver and a free diver who's interacted with them in a proper way, you've seen a totally different side to them. So I'm not entirely convinced that they are as aggressive as they're made out to be. I think obviously sure they're apex predators and they need a lot of respect for that, but there is a way to interact with them that is actually quite peaceful and a different side to them for sure. So they grow to around, well, can grow up to about 5.5 meters, 18 foot. And actually they can weigh up to around 900 kilos or 2,000 pounds. But the typical adult is around 600 kilos-ish. Their lifespan is around 30 to 50 years, and the females tend to grow larger than the males. And it's mainly females here in Fuvahmulah. They also have these amazing teeth. So I found this whilst on one of the dives that I did. This is a tiger shark tooth, which hopefully it will focus on. If not, I'll put a clip to it. And as you can see, it's one, quite large. Two, it's got serrations all the way down the back and all the way along the front as well. And they actually have the same tooth all along the top and all along the bottom, which they lose at regular intervals. The other really interesting thing, all sharks have this actually, but it's very apparent on tiger sharks, is they'll have these pores that you'll see all along the front of their face. And inside these pores are jelly-filled canals. And these basically allow them to detect electrical fields. It's known as the ampullae of Lorenzini, which allows them to detect fish in distress, anything sort of underneath a rock or whatever else. And that's kind of how they hunt. And actually on one of my first dives, one of the girls was picking rocks up and moving them around. And I sort of asked the guide afterwards, what is she doing? I don't really understand. And he said, oh, you know, they detect an eel or something underneath the rock and they'll move the rocks to try and get to that animal. And they're known as the garbage bins of the sea because tiger sharks will literally eat anything and everything that they possibly can. They're kind of got a bit of a reputation for that, which actually is a fair reputation. They're not particularly discerning about what they do and do not eat. So some key how-tos in terms of diving with tiger sharks. And I must reiterate again, please, if you haven't done this before and you want to give it a go with a guide or instructor that's suitably qualified. But when you get into the water, acknowledge that you're in their home. Keep your eyes on them at all times because they can be curious and approachy, but give them space. Don't follow them, don't chase them. If they do approach you, and as I said, this is likely out of curiosity, go vertical in the water, display a confident body position, and make eye contact with them. You want to really stand your ground. You have to sort of almost let her think that you're the apex predator and she's not, even though it's not that way around at all. As you can see here, she approaches me and my dive buddy. We stop, we go vertical in the water, stand our ground, make eye contact, and she immediately changes her trajectory. There's no need to touch her, interact with her, or make anything more dramatic. Very, very rarely, actually, do you need to redirect them. But if you do, and again, please don't do this unless you're very experienced, put your hand on top of their head, lock your elbow, and gently but firmly push her away. Then let go when she moves off. It goes without saying, thirdly, don't touch them at all unless absolutely needed. And as I've said, very, very rarely do you actually need to touch them or redirect them. In almost all the cases, your body language, they'll come up, have a look at you. Your body language doesn't signal that you're something that she necessarily wants to interact further with, and she'll change her trajectory and she'll just swim around you, getting on with her day, and you can get on with yours. You don't need to ride them or grab them or try and touch them or anything else, just watch them peacefully. Splashing, swimming away, especially at the surface, are things that are likely going to attract them and draw them in. And let's just be clear, you are not going to outrun one of these tiger sharks. They are capable of short bursts of incredible speed, sometimes up to 45 miles an hour. And let's not forget, they weigh about half a ton. So a fragile little human is not going to be able to outrun her. When you're interacting with them, if you're in shallow water, it's far easier because you might necessarily be sitting on the bottom. So in terms of your sort of viewpoint, you can keep an eye on them a lot easier. In the blue, where it's maybe 2,000 plus meters below you, so you can't see the bottom, they can basically come from any direction. It's much harder. You need to be a little bit more advanced to be able to do that because they can come from above, below, all around you basically. So you and your buddies need to be alert at all times. You need to spot every single tiger shark that's in your vicinity, because sometimes we had situations where there were 10 plus at any one time, and you've got to count and track all of them at all times, which can be a mentally tiring thing. So some of the things I think that are quite interesting about tiger sharks, and some of this applies to blue sharks as well. So they're actually surprisingly chill. I would say if you look at their body language in the videos, they're very relaxed, very chilled out. They're, I would say, curious, but definitely not aggressive at any point. So they like coming up to me, taking a look at me, looking at my camera. There was one exciting day actually where we were diving and a storm was coming in, and there was quite a strong surge. And there was a small group of scuba divers, myself included, on the bottom. And then there were some free divers who were obviously on the surface. And the free divers said to us afterwards that they could see the surge happening. They weren't as impacted by it, obviously, because they were on the surface. And they could see us being sort of thrown into the tiger sharks and the tiger sharks being thrown into us. So that spiced things up a little bit. But there were a few moments where, you know, bless them, the tiger sharks were really, really trying not to hit into us. And you can see in one video here, she comes towards me, really tries not to hit me, but then at the very last moment gets thrown into me. I would say that sometimes they do have poor personal space. Blue sharks are the same. Sometimes they will sort of bump into you and things like that. But again, it's generally... It's never seemed to be done in an aggressive way. Sharks have actually got a really bad reputation over the years, and I think that is starting to change now, but very much so from the sort of 1975 Jaws phenomenon, shall we say.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
And that novel and the movie created widespread fear, and actually it's documented that the amount of sport fishing of sharks increased, and globally there was a resistance to their conservation following the release of the novel and the movie. And the author, Peter Benchley, he actually wrote the original novel, and he devoted the later years of his life to shark conservation, because he actually explicitly said that it was to undo the fear that his story had created. Yes, they're apex predators. Yes, they have to be treated with respect, but they are not sort of mindless, aggressive, bloodthirsty killers.